All right, they're going to be doing an investigation into the investigation. So the We scandal starts. They get the documents. They're all redacted like that. And now they're doing a point of order, the Bloc and NDP, about the redacted documents and asking for an investigation therein. So investigation and investigation. Watch this. It's amazing, all the points.
The member for La Prairie. Mr. Speaker, on September 24th, the people of Leeds, Grantsville Islands raised a point of order in my respect, and I had a few words about this. There were some facts juxtaposed by the Prime Minister and his government in the wake of the investigations into the We Charity scandal. The Prime Minister, his government, and the We Charity is a very serious scandal that is unprecedented. The PMO and the Cabinet and the former Minister of Finance made all sorts of maneuvers to dissimulate facts to Quebecers and Canadians. He prorogued the Parliament, and the Prime Minister tried to use a strategy to dissimulate facts and shut down at least four parliamentary committees. And we wanted to have a throne speech to discuss the issues related to this pandemic. And what was announced by the Prime Minister last week leads us to conclude that he used this health crisis that we're experiencing as a diversion. And the current situation raises an important question of privilege because the government did not meet its obligations, and the government should have produced the documents and the communications required. And high-ranking officials, they should have produced this by March. And the motion adopted at the Finance Committee said that, and I quote, all necessary documents and personal information can be included in the documents, and public officials who provided assistance on this topic, this is very important, the words are very important, by the Office of the Law Clerk of the House of Commons. So the more than 5,000 pages tabled by the government before the House was prorogued were heavily redacted, and the law clerk himself confirmed that the government documents that it submitted did not respect the committee's motion. By more than 1,000 pages of information were not available, and therefore the government did not meet its obligations. It violated the law, the rules stating that it was supposed to provide these documents as part of its mandate of the committee, and there is a referral from the House on this matter. I refer to the Constitutional Act of 1887 about parliamentary privilege. There's a right to conduct an investigations and also to require witnesses to appear. There's a constitutional principle here at stake, and paragraphs 1 and 2 of Standing Order 108 of the House of Commons. And on this question, I think that my colleague from the Conservative Party also raised this issues. There's an absolute and general power to be able to require documents, and there are no limits to this power. Chapter 20 of the House of Commons, third edition of Boskin Gagnon, page 984. In a previous decision from the Parliament from April 27th, 2010, with respect to the Afghanistan mission, there are debates at the House of Commons, and it mentions that only the House has the power to decide whether information contained in documents mentioned in a order to produce can be protected. And in the same decision, the Speaker explains, and I quote, that the Parliament's right to obtain all necessary information with respect to matters of public interest is undeniable, and the reasons, very powerful reasons, well, it is not up to the government to decide what information that can be redacted in this case. If the government wishes to dissimulate certain information, it has to show this House that the reasons why it wants to hide this information have precedence over the public interest. And there is a fundamental right of the House of Commons to require the government to be accountable for its actions and its privileges, and it has an obligation with respect to the government. And the only limit that the House can have is for the investigation to refer to the legislative obligations for questions of national security, national defense, or with respect to international relations. But this is not at all the case of what's before us. And according to the usages of the House of Commons, Boskin-Gagnon, it is a question of privileges have to be taken into account by the House when the committee presents a report, unless there are extremely serious circumstances. And I think that the present situation justifies direct intervention from your part, given the extreme severity of the situation. You would agree that the Standing Finance Committee was dissolved by the Prime Minister, and it will be able to report to the House on this issue in the midst of a pandemic, while many issues affecting the health and safety of our companies and citizens. It is the duty of this House to work effectively for our fellow citizens. And this question of privilege should be rapidly solved so that we avoid delays to the work of committees and we're able to work for the sake of our population. Partisan issues to dissimulate the We Charity scandal is a very serious situation in the current situation. So I would ask you, Mr. Speaker, to take a position on the fact that this is a issue that affects the parliamentary privilege and violates the dignity of this House, so that the House itself can debate this issue. Thank you. I'd like to thank the member for his proposal, and we will get back to you shortly with an answer. We have a point of order also from the member for New Westminster Burnaby. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Yes, I'd like to congratulate my colleague, the bloc's leader, for his proposal. It's been 4 days now, Mr. Speaker, as you know. We had a presentation from the member for Leeds Grenville and myself for the NDP and also the bloc's parliamentary leader. All three of us have said that we have to have a quick decision, and the government has had 4 days now to do their presentation, and I imagine that they're going to do it now. But if not, Mr. Speaker, I would ask you to provide us an answer quickly. I just wanted to say this is an argument. Well, I appreciate this opinion, but we're working intelligently and very hard on this to ensure that we have a response. Thank you.
These people are crazy. This is going to be a disaster.